What's up everyone, Michael here with an impressions review of Monster Super League, a fun little monster collection RPG on mobile that I've actually been enjoying quite a bit. Now you may have heard me just say mobile and been like, oh god, I gotta click off this video because mobile, blah 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 blah. Please don't, because I normally don't like mobile games. Most of them are not very entertaining. However, Monster Super League is one of those games that has a great art style, an interesting gameplay loop, and doesn't try to constantly screw you over with microtransactions, which is quite refreshing for the mobile platform. So let's go ahead and tap in. Now, it's going to show up this kind of like news thing. We're going to go ahead and skip that and talk about it later. But let's go ahead and go into 2 points of disclosure real quick. Now, this is a mobile game, which means it is only available on Android and iOS. Now, I currently have... I get a daily reward. Apparently, the daily rewards thing set up. I forgot about that. Yes, there are daily rewards. So, we'll skip past that. Anyways, 2 points of disclosure. 1, since this is a mobile game, I normally run it on a Galaxy S7. And so when I talk about performance, I'll end up talking about the phone side of that regarding that phone specifically, because that's the only phone that I have to test it on. However, your performance may vary. And number 2, I am running this on an emulator to capture it because I need to be on my PC. And so this actually comes with some technical problems with the audio. So the audio may desync. I'm gonna try and fix it in post, but I may not be able to because it might vary too much. So if the audio sounds a little bit strange, don't worry, that doesn't actually happen on the phone version of the game. It's only because I'm running it in this emulator, and that's a problem with it specifically. So you can go ahead and ignore that. So anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the game. It is a monster collection RPG, as I said, which is technically a character collection game. It's quite popular in certain regions and especially on mobile, to where, you know, most of the time it's definitely cards, and then you collect cards, and then cards have different abilities and they have different stats and yada yada. However, this one goes more towards you have monsters and you collect monsters and level them up and they evolve, and that's kind of how you go about it. So if I click on monsters down here in the bottom left, you'll actually see my full collection of monsters, which currently I have 115. Let me go ahead and release one of these so that I can actually build up and show a mechanic later on. So let's go ahead and release this little mushroom fella. We'll see him later. We're going to go catch some new ones, but we'll release them. They'll give us some stuff, and then go ahead and skip about there. But yeah, each monster has different elements as well, so this is going to be quite interesting. We're going to go ahead and talk about monsters, then we'll go into gameplay real quick, because it's kind of important to know about the monster collection aspect of it. Even though I think the gameplay is interesting, the monsters are actually what makes the game really enthralling to me, personally. Of course, you know, other people will think different things. So each character or different monster, they call the Astromon, they have different stats and abilities. However, one interesting thing that Astromons have is that they actually have different variants for different elements. So right here, the seasonal character that they currently have up, which means it's a rotating character that comes through every once in a while, you can see that it actually has different elements for the same character, and the same character will have different abilities. And each character has different abilities for kind of what they do. So they have 2 different types of skills that we'll use in combat. Obviously, I'll talk about that a little bit later. But you have a normal skill, which is kind of like your normal attack. And then you have an active skill. The active skill is able to be used once your SP gauge fills up, which we'll talk about once again in combat. And then you also have passive skills that you have a 3-star, which actually affects your normal skill, and then you have a 5-star skill that affects your active skill. And then you also have a variant skill, to where if you find a variant character, let's see, this one's a variant and this one's a variant. I like this one. This one's a variant, and it has a variant skill. So it increases allies' resistance. Some of them will do different things, such as increasing health. Some will increase things in PvP and yada yada, and they have different effects that can kind of combine. And that is one of the most interesting things for me personally in this game, and it's what actually adds a lot of depth to the gameplay, which we're actually going to go ahead and head to now. So in the gameplay, it's actually fairly basic. It is turn-based. I just clicked on the play in the bottom right, by the way, and it takes us to this map. The gameplay is actually fairly basic. I'm just going to go to one of the areas that I need to complete a quest for. You can actually see up in the top left, the story progresses through missions, which they're fairly basic. They give you an objective, you complete it, and you continue on to the next one. And as you do them, it will give you story bits as you go along. There is a story we'll talk about a little bit later, but the missions are pretty straightforward. But I'm going to go ahead and try and complete this mission, which means I have to go catch 5 Astromon in the seabed caves. So I go ahead and click on or tap on the seabed caves, and we're just going to go to one of the areas. Now, you can also see in these areas, they have different sort of enemies, different elements that go into the play. Each Astromon is an element, which is effective against one element and then weak against another, with the exception of light and dark, which are just kind of weak and strong against each other, which is kind of an interesting little mechanic. But then fire is better against grass, or leaf, sorry, and then leaf is better against water, and then water is better against fire, which is kind of interesting. And it kind of gives you that basic sort of element roundhouse. Now let's go ahead and do this one. I need gold, so let's go ahead and go to the one with the gold bonus. And then here is where you can set up your team. So the left side is my team that I can set to whoever I want, and the right side is going to be what characters are going to show up in that stage. And so it appears that mostly water characters are going to show up, but there is going to be one leaf one. So I'm going to go ahead and set up one of my water leader characters, which is going to increase my allies' resistance by 15%, or 15 plus 4%. Talk about that later. Basically, that makes it so that I can get away from stuns and things like that. And then I'm going to set one of my strong fire characters to take care of these leaf characters, so it doesn't end up killing off my water character that's fairly powerful, and I want that leader skill. And then I can throw on 2 other leaf characters to deal with the rest of the water characters, and we can go into battle. Now, one thing to note, there is an auto battle function. The game has a stamina system that actually is kind of not that restrictive. A lot of people hate stamina systems, and I am included. However, this game throws energy at you like crazy, as you saw the cost and stuff like that. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but basically it costs 5 or 6 energy to go into a mission, and that's actually not a lot considering I've built up over a week period of time and just kind of casually playing, it would build up 2,000 energy, which is kind of ridiculous. There's no way you could actually use it without using auto battle. So if you're worried about grinding, this game actually has auto fight or auto battle, which actually is what you kind of use to get around that grinding barrier. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the manual kind of combat. So here we are in our basic kind of turn-based combat. So you have your side and then you have the enemy side, which is kind of obvious. And then you're able to select your target and then you just kind of click on a character, or you can double tap to automatically make your characters fight, which is kind of annoying. I hate that. I wish I could turn it off because I didn't actually mean to use it, but you tap on your character and then they will automatically go through. Now, one of the interesting kind of mechanics to this is you can actually combo characters as well. So you end up using one character, and then if I attack at the same time, it'll do combo, which increases the damage they do, which is kind of nice. And that is one of the benefits to using manual combat, is you're able to combo together skills better. The auto combat or the auto battle will just automatically make your characters attack as soon as they can, and they'll just automatically use skills. Now, other kind of in-depth things, the real reason why I actually like this system is that in the characters themselves, they had those abilities I was talking about. So for example, this character, oh, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. This character down in the bottom right, kind of left here or whatever, the middle bottom right, actually has an ability to decrease defenses. So when I attack here, you may actually see that, oh, it didn't actually do it that time, but it has a chance to actually decrease defenses, which means that I'll probably want to use them first. That way all my other characters will end up doing more damage. This character over to the far left, the water character, actually has the ability to use sap, which is an ability that causes damage over time. So they're really good against bosses. So if I'm in a boss fight, I'll want to make sure to either use that ability on characters with high defenses or use it on characters that, just have a lot of health, which, kind of, once again, it adds a little bit of kind of a strategic element. My Valkyrie has the ability to kind of siphon SP, which means the more damage they do, the more SP they get, which means the higher, the quicker they're able to use their ability. Now, to activate an ability, you just tap on a character or hold down on him and then go upwards, and then they'll use their special ability. Different characters will have different abilities that kind of have different visual effects and attack different amounts of creatures. Now, the Valkyrie has one that just attacks all targets, which seems to be how most of them work. However, other ones will have single target ones that just do massive damage to one target. Once again, kind of useful. And the Valkyrie also, on their active skill, has the ability to kind of stun targets. Once again, adding into that kind of depth of how do you want to use your abilities, what characters do you want to use to attack first, and which ones do you kind of want to attack next. So my main team would normally have my Valkyrie using their special ability to kind of stun targets, and whoever didn't get stunned, I would use another character that either has Petrify, which would once again stop them from moving, Sleep, another stun, or something like that to kind of make it so that no enemy is able to attack me for that turn. And that's kind of one strategy I like to use, but that doesn't work in auto battle because auto battle is just going to automatically attack whoever they want. Which kind of brings me into the AI. This is going to be one of the first major negative things that I'm going to talk about, is that the AI is kind of basic, but at the same time, it kind of needs to be. So the way the AI works is it's going to prioritize the opposite element, and it's going to try and attack the weakest characters first. However, it's all percentage based, and so it's not always going to act that way. Which it kind of has to be that way just so that, you bring in a character. It's not just gonna instantly kind of demolish one character. But as you see, all these water characters actually attacked my fire creature, which means that, the AI kind of prioritizes that. However, there is a chance that they won't do that. And so there's some kind of variance there, which ends up relying quite heavily on RNG. And when you're doing auto battle, this is where it really comes in, is the auto battle is also the same way. So your characters use the same AI that the enemies do. Oops, I forgot I was supposed to catch one of those and I killed them instead. So that was a thing. All right, we'll show the catch mechanic somewhere else. So let's go ahead and go back to the map. And we'll just go somewhere else to kind of show off a different team as well. So let's go here. Once again, gold bonus. This is a fire area. Well, actually, it's a leaf area, which means I want my fire team. So let's go ahead and bring in... Yeah, I'll just bring up these guys because they're right there, so that's pretty simple. So I have an attacker, or 2 attackers, 1 balanced defender, which I use for my stuns, and then I have a healer. So let's go ahead and battle this one. This is actually a really easy fight, and so this will go quite quickly. Now, the game also has a speed up function, so let's go ahead and speed up as well. So we'll turn up the speed multiplier, and then the characters will kind of go through. When it does this little cinematic thing, it doesn't speed it up, which is a little bit annoying, but when it does this, it does as well. Now, another mechanic that this has, when you attack enemies, you actually get gold, and you get these little tiny orbs. Now, these orbs actually heal you and grant you SP, and so when you're actually fighting enemies, you kind of want to get as many of these orbs as you can. I don't know if there's necessarily a way to kind of modify how many you get. There are certain characters that will increase the amount that they heal and the amount that comes out, and I think that's the only way that you can. I don't know if combos increase the chances of it or not. They might. I don't know, so I can't really speak on that too much. But here we are, we're kind of blowing through it, and I'll just go ahead and use an active skill, and yeah, once again, these are pretty easy. We'll do some dungeon stuff when I'm getting on my conclusion, that way, you know, you can actually see some of the more difficult stuff. Now, one of the things that people are always wondering is, like, how do you get more Astromon, or how do you do the collection part of the game? So let's go ahead and do the catch mechanic here before I talk about that. So let's go ahead and go and catch. One strategy is that you want to try and catch the one with the highest chance if you're just trying to catch one. So I'll be like, this one has a 64% chance, and these have 39% chance. This number is actually static, and so, you know, you don't have to lower their health or anything like that, and you cannot, the most important part is you cannot pay money to kind of increase their chances. What you can do instead is you can use gold in-game currency, which I guess you can technically buy, but you don't have to. You can use that to increase your global catch rate for that area. However, that's the only way you can modify your catch rates, which I personally like. It's kind of annoying because they only give you 3 Astro Chips, which is how you catch the Astromon, is you have Astro Chips. I know the names are ridiculous, yada yada. But they only give you 3, and this doesn't change. You cannot pay to get more. It's no pay to win sort of thing. It's literally you get 3 and that's it. So when you run into a rare character, they'll have a lower chance of getting caught, which is sort of annoying. But at the same time, I kind of understand why it's that way because, you know, they want to make it difficult to catch them, and you kind of want that risk involved instead of just paying over and over again to kind of keep it. So I kind of like that. And that goes into the whole business model. The business model is actually very, very friendly to people who both pay and who don't. I will say it's a little bit expensive. I'm going to go ahead and sell that gem. But when you complete a quest, you can see I got experience for my characters. Characters that are already maxed out will actually give their experience to other characters that are not maxed out, which is kind of nice. So you can always bring a low level with all max characters. So it's not like you get to a point to where you just have max characters and you just don't want to do anything with them because they just don't gain experience or anything like that. It's not one of those cases. You can always bring down a low level. And then you also get a reward for completing that area, which in that case, I got a gem that I just sold right off the bat. All right, so now we're back in our main kind of stage. Now, you may be wondering, how do you collect these Astromon? Well, there's 3 different ways. One is through what we just did. We just catched one. That is one of the major ways to actually get them. That's how you get the low-level ones, and that's how you catch the rare ones. However, there's also 2 other mechanics that you can use. You can use... Oh, actually 4 different mechanics. I forgot they added fusion recently, but there is summoning. And so summoning uses eggs and stuff like that. So you can get eggs. You can also pay to increase them in the special shop as well. So I actually have a free summon available here, and I'll get another one in 23 hours. And they have different ranks to these eggs. And these eggs can go from being 1 to 3 star, 2 to 4, 3 to 5. And then you also have specific elements ones. And then you also have legendary eggs that automatically give you a 4 or 5 star character. Now, you can increase the stars as well through a system called Ascension, which actually uses a special type of starstone. I'm not going to get too far into that, but you increase their stars, and then that unlocks other passive abilities and stuff like that. And so, like, let's say if I go back to my monsters over here, and I go over to, let's say, one of my 3-star characters. Let's go this guy, because he's all tough and macho. If you go on here, he still has a 5-star skill, even though he is not a 5-star character. He just cannot use it, which means this petrified chance will not apply to his active skill until I ascend him up to level 5-star. And the max amount of stars you can get is 6-star. And so my Valkyrie here, if I go ahead and click on Ascension, you can see it takes these star stones. What you do is you max out the character's level, and then when you use these star stones, it actually resets the character's level and then increases their level cap. And the maximum cap is level 60. And once again, it also unlocks abilities and stuff like that. So that's a major mechanic. The other mechanic is evolution, to where you can actually combine characters the same. So like, let's say I wanted to level up this one. I can also use, I can either use duplicates of the same creature, or I can use things like evolution stars or evo stars. And so like this one, I can just use it on there. You can see I also used a green one. Now, the reason why it shows it up here is because let's say I have a character that isn't a variant. And so I don't think I have anybody to use an example, but if I use a variant as material, so let's say, you know, this character wasn't a variant and then I wanted to use this fire one, but this fire one ended up being a variant, it would actually evolve itself into a variant as well. And you can also use that to increase your base stats. So if you go to leader skill, it has this plus 2% here. That can actually be increased using that system. You can get up to plus 5%, which is kind of interesting. Once again, that's advanced stuff. And let's go ahead and talk about one more thing since we're here. Let's go ahead and talk about gems. Gems are an interesting mechanic to where you can actually increase certain stats that you want specifically. And so like on Valkyrie, I'm using them for attack damage because the more damage they deal, the more SP that they gain. So I'm kind of increasing all of their attack stats. So you can see this gem is an increased attack gem. This one is also an increased attack gem. And this one is an increased HP gem because I wanted them to have a little bit more defense. But once I get a good attack gem that I can throw in there, I'll probably do that as well. And different colored gems actually have set bonuses. Sometimes you won't need to use them, but other times you will. You can also do things like making sure that their passives kind of activate more often. So for the Valkyrie, you know, I'm increasing their attacks with their SP gains more. However, characters like this Wildfang here on the Leaf variant actually has petrify chances based on its crit rate. So one of the things that I'm trying to do is get gems that kind of focus around their crit rate. I haven't set this character up quite yet, but I do have a few. Like this Gem of Tenacity here has crit rate increased by 4.5%. And so if I can get a gem set that will increase their crit rate, it also increases their passive effect kind of usefulness in general. And there's a lot of different characters that you can do that with. You can kind of like customize your characters quite in depth using this system, and gems are actually quite interesting as well. So I can just go ahead and click through. Most of them are just passive bonuses to your stats, which is pretty much all they are. But some set bonuses are actually rare, such as crit rate and stuff like that. So, you know, some of them are actually quite useful. And then you have HP, attack, defense, which is quite explanatory. Recovery is how much you're able to heal from orbs and how much you'll heal other characters with your healing abilities. You have your crit damage, crit rate, and then resist is how much you actually kind of resist status effects. And so like, let's say you get stunned, you know, 20% on that means that when you get stunned, there's a 20% chance that you'll resist it, which means you won't get stunned. And different characters have different stats for this. I think the base resist is 20%. Not 100% sure. Yeah, I think that's base resist, but you can increase it with the gems as well. Anyways, back on to how you summon them. So, you know, you get these eggs and you're able to open them. You also have soul stones, which means it's kind of like a system to where you collect enough of this item and then you summon them just like an egg, except the egg will be guaranteed to be this character, which is kind of a nice system for people who don't like to gamble a lot. And you can get these through the in-game shop thing. I will show that in a minute. Not cash shop currency, it is in-game gold. And then you have rebirth, which means you throw in a bunch of different characters and you just get a random roll based on the rebirth list that rotates over time. Astro Incubator, I don't have that yet, so I have no clue what that does. And then you have Fusion, which is actually, you know, you trade in certain characters to unlock other ones. And you can use this to kind of get into a tree. You can actually see the chart here. That's like you get all these and then you get up to this major guy who's like super ultra powerful and all of that type of stuff, which kind of makes an interesting kind of flow chart of how you want to go through. So we'll go ahead and hatch an egg just to display what it is. Never mind, I'm out of slots, so I need to release an Astromon real quick. I probably should have emptied some slots before I made this video. That would have been smart. It requires gold to do that, but we caught this guy. I don't really need him for anything because I already have a variant of him leveled up. So let's go ahead and release him, and then he'll give us a little reward, and we'll go ahead and release him as well. Now, in the multiplayer aspect of it, you can also set a main. You can see over in the top left sort of area, or the left option, it says set as main. You can set a character for your friends to use. You may have noticed when we went to go set up a team, it actually had like a list of high-level characters and then a bunch of friends that I have on my list. Oops, that was the quest. We'll talk about that in a minute. That is how you actually kind of find, like, you're able to use your friends' stuff, and so you can use your set as main, and you can find people that have good characters if you want that, or you can send them gold and stuff like that. I'm not going to cover that too much because it's not that important. Anyway, so I just did a summon on my egg. I got a mini cat, and now I can go and have him in my thing. Now, there are certain characters that can only be used through the summon. However, you get so many summons in this game, it's ridiculous. Like if I go to here, I have a free summon available, so I may as well roll that and see what I get. Now this is going to be a low level one because that's how it is. So it's like, oh, I got a Squirrus, which is basically a fire squirrel. And we'll go ahead and release him as well because I don't need him. Now let's go ahead and talk about the kind of social elements for a little bit. Now I did mention you can send people gold. Now this isn't one of those cases to where, oh yeah, you can also see where you can find characters as well using the Astro Guide. So it's not like they're trying to hide anything. So if I go to the Astro Guide, I'm like, oh, where can I find this character? And I can be like, story and habitat. It will tell you a little story about them and then where you can find them. You can just click on it and be like, I'm going to go there. Or let's say some of them, like the Valkyrie, for example, can only be summoned. So if I click on here and say story and habitat, Astromon can only be summoned. So some of them can only be summoned. It's not that big of a deal because they give you summons like ridiculous. Anyways, let's go ahead and talk about some social features as well. So I said sending gold. You're not literally sending them gold. If I go to friends here, I can see, send them gold. And then when you get a certain amount, they give you the cash shop currency. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the business model of this game for a little bit. And also the quest system real quick. Also quests, they have a lot of repeatable quests. So there's daily quests, weekly quests, monthly quests. As you complete them, you get different rewards. So I can collect this one and be like, woohoo, I got that. Challenges like to reset as well. And so let's say there's one for like catching Astromon, or there's one for completing certain floors. And then there's ones for getting gems to a certain upgrade. One that is particularly good is evolving your Astromon. When you evolve them, you actually get this cash shop currency called Astro Gems. This game throws Astro Gems at you like crazy. You'll see up at the top right, I have quite a few. And it is kind of expensive to buy them. Like if I click on here, 2,000 plus 400 is $90. But if you look at how many I have that I've gotten for free, this is over the last like 4 days, I think, or something like that. Now I've gotten those through events and things like that, which I'm not even going to cover. There's events that kind of give interesting things. So like if I go on here and click on this one, it'll give you rewards based on what you do. So it's like, go catch this many or something like that. And they actually give you quite a decent amount as well. So, the cash shop currency is actually really, really easy to get in base. Like these trees, for example, every hour you're able to click on these trees and they actually give you energy. Now, energy also, I said that I was going to mention that as well. Energy is just thrown at you like ridiculous. Like right now I just got 20 energy and it costs, 5 to 10 to kind of play a mission. And so if we go over and we go into a mission, let's say one of these dungeons, let's go ahead and do a difficult dungeon that I'm probably going to fail at epically. Let's go ahead and do Starstone. We'll do this one. And we'll take that team. Sure, whatever. They throw energy at you like crazy. At first, I was very skeptical about it. However, the game isn't designed for you to be playing 100% of the time. Now, obviously, in the manual combat stuff, I enjoy this aspect of it because I'm able to kind of strategize my team and be able to kind of focus who I want to attack first and sort of organize my team in however I think is optimal. However, auto battles is not going to do that. I am playing in 3 times. I probably shouldn't do that for this. Sorry, I'm just used to it going that fast because that's how I play it. However, the game is kind of grindy, and the way they kind of work around this is they give you tons of energy because they expect you to use the auto battle on easier battles, or let's say battles that you needed to do, in order to sort of solve that problem. So you can be like, oh, I need this character to level up, so you just kind of run it through auto battle. I need these sort of Starstones, so you just kind of auto battle it if you can. Now, obviously, when you get to more difficult dungeons, you're going to need to auto battle to complete them. For example, this stage, I can't actually finish this stage while using like the auto battle. The auto battle will fail and they'll all die, and it'll be like, well, you failed, and then you don't get anything from it. You get experience and you get some gold, but you don't actually get the reward you're really looking for. Which means that it's kind of important that I go through and do these ones manually. However, the lower level dungeons, not a problem. I just hit auto and it finishes it perfectly fine as long as I set the team properly. Sometimes I won't pay attention to the team I set up and then it'll fail anyways because opposite elements are actually pretty big deal because when you attack the opposite element, you get 2 times the amount of damage out of it. So if you set the wrong team, they'll absolutely destroy you, which is kind of nice. And I've been talking to some of the higher level players in the game using the in-game chat function, which you can see up here. You can go to different channels and stuff like that. You can see some people are talking. And there's actually somewhat of an active community on this game as well, and some of them have been fairly friendly as well. There's a few children on here who are a little bit rude, but for the most part, it's been pretty fantastic, actually. It's a very casual game, which means that it has kind of that casual atmosphere, and everyone's really, really friendly. And a lot of the higher level players are talking about how a lot of the later game dungeons are actually, you have to manually play them. Like, even with an absolutely maxed out team, there's still dungeons to where you'll actually have to play through manually, which for me personally, for people like me, they think that's great. Some people think it's kind of annoying because they're just here for the progression aspect of it, which is kind of meh, but I personally enjoy that. Anyways, here is a boss. We haven't actually done a boss in this, but he shows up. He has this nice little cinematic to where he's like, I'm gonna beat you up because I'm a boss. And so he shows up, got some nice sound effects, and he's an astral overlord, so we're gonna kick his astral butt. Anyways, this boss is actually pretty easy for me, I think. I think I could beat this boss pretty easily. Yeah, I have some SP stuff, so I'm going to go ahead and use my healer to get my characters up, give them an SP bonus, and then I should be able to instantly stun these two guys on the side by using this active ability, and then use my other two characters in attacking the middle. And as you see there, I kind of comboed my characters together to do the most damage that I possibly can, and I nicked off quite a bit of his health. I probably could have done the dungeon above this one. I actually just got to a point where I can complete this dungeon quite easily, so I wasn't sure if I'd be able to do it, and I didn't get enough SP to stun those guys, so I'm going to take a little bit more damage this time. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the kind of conclusion bit. Let's talk about graphics, performance, whatever that kind of entails. So graphically, I like this game a lot. I like the art style. I think it's very interesting. I think all the characters, like one of the things I really like about all the characters is the fact that they have a personality to them. So, you know, the way they kind of attack, the way they move, the way they stand. So, for example, my Fenrir on the right side, if it's going to do the attack, I'll wait until this is over. Basically, they kind of have like a personality to where they're very acrobatic and they're very fun. So like this character, so if I click on them and I attack, you can see they kind of slash and do this nice little pose and they're like, yeah! And so different characters have those sort of things. Like Valkyrie is very serious, and so they go through, oops, I accidentally attacked a character on the side there. That wasn't intentional. And I'm silenced, which means I can't actually heal my characters. Ooh, that's dangerous. I think we'll be able to do it, though. They're not going to keep stunning us. Also, bosses have a bunch of different effects you can read up here. Just by tapping and holding, you can see their effects as well. The UI to this game is also quite well. You know, on top of the art style, you know, the cell shaded, the texture quality is not amazing, especially in a lot of places. You know, the art style kind of holds up well because it doesn't require, you know, really nice textures to look good. But at the same time, you know, it's not exactly going to blow your brain with texture quality. However, that's important because on the phone can't really handle a lot of this kind of heavy performance stuff. And on the phone, it does tend to stutter, especially when loading effects. And so that is kind of one complaint I would have in performance. They do have a low res mode, which does help with that a lot, but it is kind of a problem. The UI is also very, very nice for on a mobile platform. It's very, very easy to use and very easy to understand. You know, you think you can click and hold something, you can click and hold something. You know, the only complaint I have about that is you can't check enemy stats while in a dungeon, but you can before you go into it. And ooh, I got 2 high stones, which I actually need, I think, 50 of those to level up my character one more. The sound, however, the sound is also nice. Some of the quality is a little bit lower than I would have liked it. I'm going to go ahead and gather my stuff for quest here, so let's go ahead and click that. And I also caught a wood mushi in the seabed caves for the first time, apparently, which gave me some gold, which is nice. I need that. I need lots of that. Anyways, we'll go ahead and go into another dungeon. Let's go ahead and do the Tower of Chaos. Let's see if I don't think I can beat that one. Let's go ahead and do that Starstone dungeon. No, I want to show off different scenery, so we'll do it. There we go. We'll go for it. I'm so gonna die, but oh well. This is one of the ones where I can talk about enemies kind of attacking. But anyways, sound quality, some of the sounds are not particularly great. Also, the music kind of gets repetitive because you end up hearing it quite a lot, you know. You can hear, like, the soundtrack in this area is a little bit different than other areas, but it seems like most of the main areas have like, one battle theme, which is kind of annoying. Anyway, so here's one of the higher level areas to where, you know, you can go through, and it's actually kind of difficult to do these ones, so I want to kind of combo them properly. And let's see if I can get a sleep on her. I did not, which means that she actually has a chance to petrify me, so she's going to use this ability. And it might hurt a lot, I don't know. Yeah, that's going to hurt quite a bit. And they petrified most of my team. So there's why I'm talking about how you kind of want to figure out who you want to focus and who you want to kind of take down first, who you want to use your sleeps and stuns on. So I decreased their defense, so next turn I can probably take them out, which is nice. But there's also 4 different rounds. You can see down in the bottom right, there's different rounds. So that's how many sets of creatures you're actually going to fight. Now, it maxes out at 4, so there's only going to be 4 characters at once. So you're not going to be like doing like 10 on 10 battles or anything like that. But you do have to take your 4 and go through each round without failing. And I'm probably going to fail this one quite miserably, actually. Yeah, this is not going well, so I'll go ahead and use her on that one. Yeah. Anyway, so some of the music gets repetitive. I generally, on my computer, when I'm playing it on an emulator, I don't play with the sound, mostly because it is delayed. It seems to be mostly working right now, so I may not have to fix it too much, but we will see. Also, it seems like one of those guys have a petrify chance. I need to increase my resistances before I can actually complete this. This is pretty rough. But overall, I like the sound effects and the different characters and stuff like that. They don't have any sounds to the characters themselves, which I think would have been nice to have. You know, maybe characters go moo or something like that, you know. I know that other kind of monster collection games do that, and I feel like it adds more personality, but the animations are very high quality for a lot of stuff. There is some snapping issues, so for example, when they finish attacking, they just kind of snap back. That's a little bit jarring, but you also get used to it, and I understand why it's that way. It's just so they can get through it fast. So anyways, let's go ahead and talk about conclusion stuff. Let's go to a conclusion. So overall, like business model wise, I actually like this game a lot. It throws cash shop currency at you like crazy. Oh, we didn't even talk about PvP. So I'm going to fail this anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and give up. And when you fail, it shows your character and they're like, I'm sad and everything like that. But you still get experience and stuff like that if you don't give up. So we didn't actually complete any rounds. If you don't complete a single round, then you don't get anything. But if you complete a round, then you get the XP and stuff for that. So we're going to go ahead and look at PvP real quick. One big problem with the PvP is you'll notice they have like level 1 characters and stuff like that. There is a D-ranking problem in the game. I'm not going to cover that. That's advanced stuff we won't talk about. But anyways, so you're able to set up your own defense team. And you can see I'm getting my butt kicked in the season. They just reset the PvP stuff, which means a lot of high level characters are in the low rankings, and I'm kind of ranking up as well. And so anyways, you get to set up a defense party, and then, yeah, I don't care. Anyways, they set up a defense party, so you can set up whatever Astromon you want, and I normally suggest to make up a good variety of kind of elements so that people can't just be like, I'm going to bring an entire water team against your fire team, and they're just going to completely dominate. So kind of having a good variety and good strong characters is a good idea. And then you also have offense to where you can just get a random list, and you can also refresh them using the refresh thing, which you're able to refresh for free every 3 minutes, I think. And then this also takes a cooldown mechanic up here. So up in the top, you get a ticket system to where you're only able to do 10 fights before you have to wait for it to regen, and it regens 1 every 30 minutes, and you don't have to use all of them for it to regen. You can just use 1 and then 30 minutes later. It's an okay system because when doing PvP, you actually get badges. So when you win a fight, you get 3 badges. When you lose a fight, you only get 1. So you kind of want to pick fights that you win. So if we go into here, we'll go ahead and real quickly win this one just so I can show the mechanic. You also get ranking when you end up leveling up. Now the D ranking is happening because people are kind of setting up like one character so that they'll end up getting defeated a lot, which will lower their rank, which means they're fighting lower level people, which means they're able to win more often and get more badges. You know, do the math on that. You pretty much figure it out. But, you know, they're taking steps to fix that. For example, they made it so that you don't lose as much when you lose against the defense attack, which means when somebody attacks you. So they're making steps to make it better. But anyway, so I just got 3 badges. I can go over here and actually buy summons and things like that. Now, these are limited. You can only do one of these a week. I already got my Gleam. So Gleam is used to actually level up your characters for evolution, or you can get duplicates of your characters, and then you can also get summons. So once again, you know, there's tons of ways to where you can get summons, and getting 100, you know, you saw I just won a fight. You can get 3 to 5 for winning a fight. I believe it depends on what level their characters are. So if your characters are actually about the same level, you'll get 5 League medals instead, which is actually pretty good. So, you know, if you're fighting even fights, you'll actually gain from it as long as you're winning. And so you can actually use this to summon whoever you want, and you can get variants as well. So that is actually quite good. And with the cash shop currency that it throws at you, you can either refill your energy to keep running dungeons, or you can use it in the special shop and actually summon them. And what I'd like to do is I do the 10+1 because I don't really have a strong team yet. So I'm using it to summon a bunch of characters because I'm not having any problems with energy at all because I don't really use auto battle that much. I don't have it running all the time. But I go ahead and click on that, and then I can just summon a bunch of them. Obviously, I need slots to do that. And so that is another thing that's kind of annoying is you have to manage your slots and things like that. But it makes it so that I kind of have to watch who I get and kind of combine who I want. So I'll be like, oh, I need this character to level up, and then I'll just kind of combine them if I have duplicates or something like that. So anyways, conclusion. So I like this game quite a bit. I think the gameplay of it is very much more interesting than a lot of what I would see. And so, you know, it's one of those situations to where the combat is very entertaining to play manually as well as just having it, you know, run in auto battle. It's not one of those mobile games to where I just kind of sit there and forget it. And I also find the characters and the mechanics behind each character to be entertaining as well. You know, I like building a team, kind of figuring out how these abilities will kind of synergize together. And I just like the progression of it as well. Like, I like RPGs and I like classic kind of turn-based combat. And it's super basic, but at the same time, it's in-depth enough that it keeps me entertained. Now, this isn't a game I'm going to sit here and play for an hour or two, you know, just sitting there kind of playing it like I would a JRPG. But it's entertaining enough that I'm able to come back to it. Like, every once in a while, I'll just log in and be like, you know what, I'm going to play 1 or 2 dungeons. Or let's say I'm like rendering a video or I'm waiting for something to upload. You know, it's something very easy to just play on the side while doing other things. Or let's say I'm cooking. I'll just have my phone open and I'll just tap away a little bit and just kind of have it going. And it's very easy to play in that. And it's also a game to where you can play it whenever you want. So you can start a fight, just, you know, put your phone into sleep mode or whatever, and then come back to it later. And, you know, it does require an online connection, which is going to be a problem for some people. But overall, I don't really see that being too much of a problem considering the type of game it is. And it does a good job of kind of implementing systems for the community as well. Like in the next big patch, they're supposed to add in a guild system, which, sorry I didn't cover in this review, but there you go. It's going to be coming in a future update. And I'm actually excited for it because the community for this game is actually quite nice. Most of my interactions with people have been kind of interesting, and they've been helpful and stuff like that. So, everyone's kind of talking about, which ones are good for teams. People are getting feedback. People are kind of figuring out strategies for doing harder dungeons and, figuring out what gems are good to use. And information kind of flows through the community that way. And overall, I recommend it as a look. It's not something that, a lot of core gamers are going to find interesting. It is casual in the greatest of senses. It's not one of those games that's like super in-depth and going to draw every hardcore gamer out of their dens to play. But it is something to look at, even for a gamer like myself, as just something to kind of play on the side. It is a mobile game that kind of shows what a mobile game can be on the casual market. It doesn't do a lot that, PC games can't do. Like, they could easily port this to PC, which I wish they would. I wish all games would be on PC, though. That's why I'm playing it on an emulator. There you go. But overall, it's not something that's, completely impossible to play. And there are some benefits to playing on mobile, such as multi-touch. The game supports multi-touch, which means you can tap on multiple characters to kind of, attack them both at the same time, which makes comboing easier and stuff like that. But overall, I enjoy it. I enjoy it quite a lot. Not everyone's going to share my opinions on that. You may be watching this video and being like, this doesn't look that entertaining. But overall, this has been Michael with Monster Super League, a game that I actually enjoy quite a lot. This is the first mobile game that makes me think like, oh, mobile games can actually have a future and actually have something that's interesting. Because I'm always, like, before I found Monster Super League, I was always looking on like the Google Play Store, or before that on the Windows Store, and I'd be trying to find a game, and I'd find a game that I'd play for like 2 or 3 days. And it's like, you know what, that was a cool experience, but that was kind of it. And then it kind of like threw Cash Shop in my face, and it's like, hey, pay money to continue, or hey, do this and that and that and this. And I'm like, I don't want that. In this game, it's got a fair business model. The developers are listening to players as well, like player feedback. They don't always do the right thing. They kind of screw up here and there, but at the same time, they're trying. And so I just have a lot of hope for this game. Obviously, I can't speak for its future. Like, I can't say whether it'll be successful in its future or if it'll close down or anything like that. That's something I can't speak on, especially since I'm not in the mobile market. I don't know how the mobile market really works because I'm not ingrained in it. But at the same time, like, this is probably one of the most promising games that I've seen on mobile as a platform that has kind of a market in that platform itself. It isn't something that would just be better on PC. It's something that works on both platforms the same, and it performs fairly well on my phone as well. As I said earlier, it has some stuttering issues here and there when it's loading new effects, but that's just going to be a limitation of the phone. It does run at 60 FPS at full resolution, and it looks pretty good as well. I can even zoom in on my characters, and as I was saying with the animations on the characters and stuff like that, I can click on him, and he's so happy, and some of them are so, like, serious. Like, is Valkyrie out here? Valkyrie's out here. Valkyrie's so serious. She's like, yep, I got a sword, and I will stab you. So anyways, once again, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content on this one, or more content like this one. At the end of every video, I'm just screwing up left and right. Oh yeah, I didn't talk about the story. This game has a story. It's very basic. There's a bad guy, and you're trying to revive the goddess and prevent chaos from taking over the world. That's the end of the story. There you go. I don't really know. It's in a state right now in my playthrough right now that it's like, yeah, now I'm just chasing the bad guys around, and that's been the story since like the first chapter, so I don't really know how much story development there actually is, but there's actually a lot of personality inside of it. Well, it's very fun and comical as well. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this one, and leave your comments on the game below. And would you like me to check out any mobile games? Do you think that there's a mobile game that I should check out? Because, I've been looking for good mobile games. I like the idea of having a game on my phone. When I leave my place, I like to have a game to play. Are there games that you think that I should check out that would be interesting, that you think I would actually like? Or are there similar games to this that maybe also have a fair business model? Like, obviously, I like the art style to this one, which is one of my main draws to it. I'm a sucker for art because I'm an artist. There you go. Deal with it. But, once again, what are your thoughts on the game as well? Have you tried it? Have you played it? Have you checked it out because of this video? Have you heard me talking about it on my podcast called The Broken Chat Box? Check that out as well. Anyways, as I said before, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.